You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information. The views and opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily represent those of the network, its advertisers, owners, or sponsors.
Welcome to the Make Meaning podcast. I'm Lynne, a writer, entrepreneur, and change maker, and I've dedicated my life to sharing stories of how people make meaning in their work and find purpose in their lives. You just heard a great original composition by my son, Asher Schreiber. This podcast highlights some of the great ideas and activities people do every day to make the world a better place. So much of the meaning we find comes from interacting with great people, developing relationships that are mutually beneficial, and doing work that inspires. I hope you'll be inspired by the people you meet on this podcast. We all need to find a way to make meaning in the mundane. I'd like to welcome Paul Saginaw to the Make Meaning podcast. Paul is co-founder of Zingermans, a dedicated activist and world citizen, and one of my favorite people who has been incredibly generous with his time and advice for the past, I don't know how many years. So welcome to Make Meaning, Paul.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm really honored that you would take the time.
It's very meaningful to me.
I hope so. I do. We're going to talk about that.
All right.
So, I'd like to hear, I know you get asked this all the time, but tell me the story of Zingermans, because this was an idea that sounded like you guys just had it casually, and it's grown into such an amazing community of businesses. So I'd love to just hear sort of that story.
Okay, sure. So, there's a couple stories. There's one is why I ended up in food service. The other one is how I met my partner, Ari Weinsweig, and how we came to open Zingermans. But Ari and I found ourselves both on our first day in a new job at a restaurant in Ann Arbor called Maud's.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And this was the second restaurant in what would become the Main Street Ventures Group. They had opened the Real Seafood Company, and I had been working there. And then they opened Maud's, and I was sent down to Maud's to be a general manager. I had gotten a promotion. I was a bartender and a bar manager and a kitchen manager, and they sent me down there to be a general manager. It was struggling a bit at the time. And on my first day, I met Ari, and it was his first day. And he had just recently graduated from the University of Michigan with a degree in history with a focus on the Russian anarchists. And
very useful and practical degree,
destined for food service.
Yes.
And I grew up in Detroit, and Ari grew up in Chicago, and we started a conversation, and we were lamenting that this was the late 70s, that, when we were coming up, every neighborhood had a delicatessen, and you thought your neighborhood deli was the best. But here we were in the late 70s in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and it was a total wasteland for any kind of food like that. So on the weekend, I would drive back into Detroit and get a pound of corned beef and a rye bread and some Red Pelican yellow mustard, and we'd have that soul food that we grew up on.
Yep.
And we talked, we said, wow, Ann Arbor could use a really good delicatessen. And we also, at that time, we started to develop an interest in really good food. Neither of us grew up in a foodie family. That term hadn't been coined yet. There was no Food Network.
Right.
But Ari had traveled quite a bit, and, we were now, experiencing these olive oils and vinegars and confections and really good bread and really, cheese outside of, I had grown up with Mrs. Paul's fish sticks and Kraft macaroni and cheese and American singles, and now we're, really, experiencing these really good cheeses. And so we were collecting articles, and we talked about Ann Arbor could use a good delicatessen. I went off and with a friend, Mike Monahan, opened Monahan's Seafood Market in 1979 in Carytown.
Sure.
And that was going real well. And the building that the deli's in is across the street from there, and it was Dyroff's Market. It was a little corner grocery store built in 1902, and the grocer lived upstairs with his family. And he had, then in 1980 he retired.
Okay.
And the man who was our landlord at Carytown bought the building. He actually wanted to open a delicatessen.
Wow,
it
the
was
stars aligned.
It was a little, well, he opened this little cafeteria, and it just sucked. It was horrible. And after about 6 or 7 months of losing money, he closed it, and he knew that I had been managed restaurants, and I had a good relationship with him, and he came to me on a Saturday morning, a market day, and asked if I would like to open it with him, reopen it with him, and go partners with him, which I just definitely didn't want to do. But I said, I'd like to lease the building from you with all the equipment in it. And he was more than happy to do that because, he's paying a mortgage, and he'd been losing money trying to run this restaurant. So he said, okay. So the next morning, Sunday, I went over to Ari's apartment, and I knocked on the door and woke him up. And I said, I found the location for us to open that delicatessen we've been talking about. And so we sat down at his kitchen table, and on a Smith Corona electric typewriter, we typed out our vision. We didn't know it was a vision at the time.
Sure.
Our business plan, it was, I don't know, about 5 pages, maybe, 15 paragraphs. And we said that we were going to gather the finest, foods from around the world, and we were going to have this specialty food store, and then smash down in it, we were going to have this busy, bustling sandwich shop, and these sandwiches were going to be so big that it was going to take 2 hands to get them up to your mouth. And when you finally bit into them, the Russian dressing was going to roll down your forearms. And that was really very clear in our heads before we made our first sandwich.
Okay.
We also said that we wanted to be unique. And for us, by definition, that meant there's only going to be one. So that if we were ever going to grow, we weren't going to do it by replication. We had never seen an operation that was really, really good and then grew by replicating itself. It starts to lose the magic. It starts to lose the specialness and the energy and the excitement.
That's a really interesting point. I want to just interrupt you for a quick second because one of the really special qualities about Zingermans is that you have all these unique individual businesses that are passion driven, and they're part of a community, and they're related by certain values and beliefs, but they each provide something different. So I think that's pretty unique. I don't know of another company that's really like that.
Well, there certainly wasn't any model for us when we went on that part of our growth. Since then, there's businesses out there that have certainly come to us and wanted to talk about want us to share our experience with them, which we're happy to do. But it's we're currently 10 separate businesses plus a shared service business, and they are all different. And we, about 10 years into it, we felt the need for growth. We didn't have, if you were working for us and you wanted to grow professionally or financially, there wasn't a lot of room. We were all young back then.
Sure.
It was a nice place to work. There was almost no turnover at the leadership level, and so you had to wait for somebody to die or move away And so we were going to lose you to our competition after we trained you really well how to compete with us. And we wanted to provide room for professional and financial growth. We wanted the people that work for us to be able to afford to live in the community, to raise families, to have a good life. And all of that required dynamic growth. And so how are we going to stay true to this vision of one delicatessen, but grow the organization? And we decided that we like being owners, so we were going to provide the opportunity for ownership in the brand to folks that work for us. So if you were entrepreneurial and you were passionate about a product or service and you were going to operate according to our principles, then we would finance that with you, and we would partner with you and share the brand, and we would be suppliers and customers of each other.
Sure.
And that's what we did. So, right now there's two co-founding partners, Ari and myself. There's 17 managing partners.
Wow.
They all started as regular employees.
Wow.
And they're owners. They built a business from their vision.
Sure.
We
but
weren't
mentored by you.
Yes. Yeah.
So they really learned.
Well, we weren't going to go around and I wouldn't go and say, "Hey, Lynne, charcuterie's getting really, really big right now, and you're kind of handy in the kitchen. So we want to get into, the cured meat business and making sausages. So do you want to do that with us?" That's not what we wanted. You to come forward and say, I want to do this, and I'd love to do it with you guys, but I'm so passionate about it. If you don't want to do it, I'll be gone in a year doing it on my own, but I'd like to do it with you. We wanted that level.
Sure.
So, so the growth was driven by the people that work for us.
So it sounds like you're saying, if you do what you love, you're going to be successful, that everybody has that passion driving them. But I know there's been a lot of thought in developing those corporate values. And so I wonder, is there advice you would give people listening who want to venture out and do something or create something from scratch? Is there sort of like a, rule of thumb or the 3 tips you'd give them?
Well, I would certainly say that you start with what we would call a vision. There's a lot of definitions for that. But for us, a vision is a written definition of what success looks like for you.
Okay.
So at some point in the future. So if it's 3 years, 5 years, 15 years, and you are on a magic carpet floating above your business looking down at it, what are all the things, what are all the activities, what is everything going on that would indicate to you that you've been successful? And we ask that you try to very, very clearly describe that.
Okay.
And for us, the vision is not the strategy. The vision is what you're going to do and why you want to do it.
Uh-huh.
The strategy of how you're going to do it comes later.
Okay.
I think that a lot of organizations, there can be a lot of disagreement among the leadership, and they think they're arguing about strategy, but really they're arguing because they don't have a shared vision. So if you and I start a business together, and in 5 years from now you envision it being a $2 million business, and I envision it being a $20 million business, it's not that you're right and I'm wrong or vice versa. It's just those are two very, very different businesses.
Sure.
And what we're going to do tomorrow morning in order to get there
It's
5 years from now is going to be very, very different.
Yeah.
And when you have a shared vision and you're locked in on that, then you can have a lot of wonderful dialogue and arguing about the best way to get there.
Sure.
But you know that you're both trying to get to the same place. So my advice would be to come up with a vision, because it doesn't only tell you what you're going to do, but it tells you, it infers what you're not going to do.
Sure.
Because when you go out and you start something and you start to experience some success, a lot of opportunities come.
Sure.
And so the vision is a really marvelous filter or sieve to push that opportunity through. So you can quickly go, well, is this something that's going to help us quickly in a straight line get to the vision that we've defined, the success that we want? If the answer is yes, then you go, okay, let's commit some organizational resources to it.
Sure.
If the answer is no, like it's exciting, there's a lot of adrenaline, there's a lot of energy, there's money attached to it, it's sexy, but it's getting us in a different direction. You want to have the discipline to say, thank you for this opportunity. We're very flattered, but that's not who we are, and that's not what we're going to do. In organizations that stay on that straight course and have the discipline to say no to those opportunities are organizations that have a much better opportunity, a chance to be successful.
Absolutely.
So I would say, have a vision of what you want to do, and then also be very, very clear on the type of culture that you want.
Okay.
What type of organization do you want? What is the personality of that organization? How are you going to behave with each other, with your customers, with your suppliers, with the outside world? And you can describe that culture. You can have a written set of guiding principles. And they're very powerful. They're going to attract the type of people to your organization that you want.
Sure.
And if they're well written and you use them and you refer to them when you make decisions, then it's the same as if you're standing in front of your entire company and you're saying, I promise you that this will be the reality within this organization without exception.
Yeah.
And if you keep that promise, then you can have the greatest asset that any employer could have. You're going to have the trust of the people that work for you. And if you have their trust, you can be extraordinary.
Sure.
And you can accomplish great things, and you can have an enormous amount of joy doing it. If you don't keep that promise, you squander that capital, you lose that trust, you'll be like every other middling organization up and down the block.
And build internal chaos in the same way.
Yeah, every organization has a culture. Undirected, it is not going to emerge in the way that you would like it to, I guarantee you.
For sure. We've spent all this time talking about Zingermans, which is, of course, a huge respected brand that I think everybody knows about. But really the reason that I wanted to interview you on this podcast more than anything is because of the example and the inspiration that I see in how you live your everyday life, which I know is part of Zingermans, because that, has been driven by you and your passion and your beliefs, but also the way that you're committed to your community, to making a difference, to making change so that we have equality and equity across the board. And I know it's important to you to be of service. I know you've been committed at Zingermans to being devoted to Washtenaw County, and I think you have personally as well. But I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the more, I guess, community-focused or activist steps that you've taken throughout your life. I think you were one of the founding partners of Food Gatherers. Am I right?
I founded Food Gatherers.
Okay, yes. So I was right about that. So, but other things, like the way you're advocating for equity in the restaurant industry, can you talk a little bit about your passions for making change and making a difference?
Wow. Well, it's who I am.
Yeah.
And it's hard to consistently behave in a way that is incongruent with how you see yourself. So it's certainly part of what makes me me.
Where does it come from?
How did it come from, I guess, would be the question. I believe a lot of it came from my grandfather, my maternal grandfather, Ben Sherman, a native Detroiter, who was just this amazing human being. Mm-hmm. And I had the good fortune to be able to spend a lot of time with him growing up, and during some of my formative years working for him. He had a small business in Detroit, but he just was this amazing person. He would tell me that half of what you own belongs to those who need it. Or if you're successful, make your friends successful.
I love that.
He also said, don't shit on the rungs as you climb the ladder of success, because they're the same ones you're going to come down on.
I love that.
But he was this generous person, and he was always joyful. And to me, connecting the dots was generosity leads to joy, and it was he lived his life that way, and I wanted to be like that. He was also, he gambled and he was kind to everybody. I think I learned later in life than I would have liked to that it's more important to be kind than right. But
it's a great line.
But I don't know. I don't know if it's selfish to be generous because it makes you feel better. I know scientifically, the act of giving, the act of being of service, releases a hormone in your brain that it, like when you're running, they call it the runner's high.
Okay.
It's also infectious and it gets people going. But
sure.
When Ari and I first were opening the deli, and my grandfather, came in, I got this marvelous picture of him holding our first menu. But
oh, that's great.
He said something to me, and I'm pretty sure he was quoting. He was very well read, and he was full of wonderful quotes. But he said that real success in business is like the success that is realized by the inventor or the statesman, and that the joy of business is like their joy, not in the vulgar pursuit of capital or the exercise of power or the frivolous pursuit of just winning. And and that he taught me that business is a tool, and it could be used for good or it could be used for greed.
Yeah.
And that you can affect real change, positive change, with a business that's pushed correctly.
Yeah.
So it was important for us that I didn't buy into traditional conservative economic theory a la Milton Friedman, that the business of business is business. We're no longer a country of merchants and farmers, and business organizations have enormous impact on the communities in which they trade, and so
for better or for worse.
Yeah, for better or for worse, exactly.
Right.
So I believe that you earn your right to conduct business by being a good corporate citizen, and you pick a site responsibly, you build responsibly, you hire a workforce responsibly, you generate a responsible profit, and you share that profit responsibly with your staff and with the community that you draw those profits from. And so giving back was not something that we were going to do once we became successful. Giving back was part of the cost of doing business. So just like paying rent, insurance, utilities, giving back. And that was a line item on our profit and loss statement, and we were going to do it from the time we started.
I love that. Well, I think we're running out of time, but I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because not only for being here today, but when I interviewed you for whatever magazine it was a million years ago, you then very generously have responded every time I've badgered you and asked for advice and asked to meet for coffee. And who am I, and you just were really generous with your time and friendship, and it has improved my life a lot, and I'm incredibly grateful. And I hope in some small way I'm impacting you, and will forever be indebted to you for your generosity of heart and knowledge and just friendship. So thank you for making the world better, and for being so open and accepting. It's really wonderful.
Well, thank you for your kind words. I will be coming for the ask one day.
Oh, you got it.
you talked me into believing that maybe I had something to say.
Oh, you do.
And that, and that maybe there's a book there somewhere and you're going to be stuck helping me do that.
I can't wait.
All
Absolutely. Right. And yes, I'm going to help you promote it too. So we're going to get it out there wide and far. So Paul Saginaw, thank you so much for being part of the Make Meaning podcast and for setting such a great example for all of us. So thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me here.
Yeah.